Ladies and gentlemen, this is your protostar Kyle Fletcher. Please say my full name when you address me, and you're listening to the SmarkTank Revolution.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SmarkTank Revolution, where we always kick out at 2. I am your solo host once again, back for the second edition of this new program, this new segment we call Power Playback. I call it Power Playback. It's called Power Playback, where I pick one match from every single pay-per-view event from chronologically in your house one, which brings us to chronologically King of the Ring 1995. And I have decided that the second match that I will highlight is going to be the main event, which is the tag team main event of Big Daddy, the WWF champion, Big Daddy Cool, and Bam Bam Bigelow versus the number one contender, Sycho Sid and Tatanka. Again, I admitted that last time I have some gaps in my memory, so watching these are kind of a new experience for me, kind of fun, kind of, just an eye-opening situation. And I will have to say, I watched most of this pay-per-view, or PLE as we call them now, and it was very underwhelming, very 1995-esque. Jerry Lawler versus Bret Hart was a highlight. Once again, begrudgingly, Bret Hart is so good that it frustrates me because he gets it on one end and he just completely screws the pooch on the other. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the main event. We're talking about the match I'm going to highlight. The match I'm highlighting is the main event, which is a tag team match main event. And I've always found Kevin Nash much more compelling than Big Daddy Cool Diesel. I thought Big Daddy Cool Diesel was very forced. I always thought he was kind of corny, and I always thought he was extremely limited. In the ring, Kevin Nash has some fundamentals that I forgot, and they've escaped me, but Diesel showed me during this match. However, not enough to catch or cover the glaring spots. But for my money, the best big man in professional wrestling history has and will always be the original Triple B. Sorry, MJF, but the original Triple B, Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow has always been very underrated. He was great in ECW. He was great in WWF. But he has always been very underrated. And Donnie and I did a segment very early on in our tenure of STR, SmarkTank Revolution, of great men or great superstars who were never world champion. And I would have to say Bam Bam Bigelow really is at the top of that list if he wasn't at the top of that list, like I put Dustin Runnels, a.k.a. Goldust. Bam Bam Bigelow was so good. He was a wrecking ball with a jet engine. He was always really, really good, propelling around the ring, making things believable, but also making things look crisp and fierce and just great. Tatanka has never been one of my faves. He's serviceable. He's fine. He's a big man himself, but he was, a little more agile, but just never interesting, never enough to really grasp me. Sid, I've always been a very big proponent of. I'm a big fan of Sycho Sid, Sid Udi, or, Sid Justice, whatever incarnation you want to give him, whatever moniker you want to slap on him. I've always liked him. I've always thought that he was much better than he was showcased. Big Daddy Cool Diesel in this was the WWF champion, as I already stated. The story of the match was basically the ring psychology around his elbow, which that's something that is truly missing from in-ring competition today, is proper psychology. The heels worked on his elbow the majority of this match, and it was extremely believable. It was extremely connected, very well constructed as far as the match choreography went. it made sense. Like, they didn't switch up which elbow it was. They didn't, have any flubs. It was really well done. Really well done. The match was your 1995 standard fare. You're not seeing flips and high spots, but you're seeing good psychology and really fantastic level storytelling. And that was something that the next generation era brought to the table. They may not have been the most interesting characters or the most flashy or the most catchy, but they were very, very believable. They were always great at their craft, to the point where they blurred the lines, not within a promo, but within their storytelling in the ring with their bodies. They were always able to bring you something that you would say, yeah, that makes sense. And it was enjoyable. And this was no different. This was King of the Ring main event. I glossed over Mabel, who was the King of the Ring winner that year, because quite frankly, it was a very paint by numbers, boring King of the Ring. I didn't care for it. And in retrospect, I still don't care for it. The main event, though, is the match I choose to highlight, which I've been doing, and it was good. In typical WWF fanfare back then, it was usually a 20 to 25 minute, maybe 30-minute extended main event. It was well done. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was good. The faces won. Sid played the chicken shit heel at the end. Complete with McMahon commentary that he's yellow and blah, blah, blah. I never realized how minimalistic and how restrictive Vince McMahon's commentary was, because he was always so good at selling, because he's very good personality. He's great on the mic. The what a maneuver or variations of that phrase were so overused that even people like Doc Hendricks and whoever else was teaming with him at that time would poke fun at it. And Punk did it in 2011. I'll remember him going, "What a maneuver," because it was funny how this brain trust and genius of professional wrestling was so limited on calling the play-by-play moves. It was almost like he didn't know the names of the moves. He was just like, "What a maneuver." And it's kind of funny, and I'll admit that. But like I said, this was a vehicle to get Diesel and WWF champion Diesel to number one contender Sycho Sid to their next outing. And it was, like I said, it would be a great house show today, main event. But it was nothing spectacular. It didn't even come close to the Brett and Hakushi match of In Your House 1 that I just reviewed. It was serviceable. So on the SmarkTank Revolution scale, it was a 2 count. It's a strong 2 count. I like the psychology. The psychology worked for it very well. Kevin Nash, I think he was very green at this time. He always was a case of work smarter, not harder. Not because he wasn't athletically gifted, because he was for a big man, but he just never really showcased it that much. Kevin Nash always Diesel at this time, came forth in his personality. I think he showed it more in spades with the NWO than he did as Diesel. Anyone can be a critic and contradict me, which is fine. But Bam Bam Bigelow, to me, was the star of this. He was the MVP. He was thrashing around, banging around, bumping like a madman. And like I said, he's a wrecking ball with a jet engine or a propeller. He just was great. He was the prototypical big man who could do it all. And lest you not forget, he was in major pain too, which is a very big guilty pleasure of mine. So, yep, the faces win at the end. Sid plays the chicken shit heel. Tatanka gets pinned on a sidewalk slam after a jackknife that is really, really clunky. It's like not even a jackknife. It's almost like a he lifts them up, twists, and drops. It wasn't a full jackknife, but I get it. His size. Tatanka was kind of a thick guy. But again, the match, it's a solid 2. I'm enjoying doing these power playback recaps. I think they're fun. I'm going to continue to do them in chronological order, according to Wikipedia. And like I said, this was King of the Ring 95. Nothing to rave about, but nothing to complain about either. I give it a solid 2. It shows you where the business was at that time. The business is about to have a very big growth spurt, and it's going to evolve very quickly, and I can't wait to catch up with it.